Hi everyone, welcome to How Do You Meditate, formerly called The Pollen Show. I am your host, Tyler Gravely, meditation teacher and wellness consultant. I am so grateful that you are here. This podcast is all about making meditation easy for ordinary people like you and me. I believe that when we are seeking meditation, we are seeking a lifestyle change that builds our strength mentally and physically, helps us find acceptance, instills personal growth, and unlocks the possibilities waiting for us. You can expect to hear stories on how other ordinary people find wellness in meditation and incorporate it into their everyday life. You will hear something in each episode that helps spark the light in you to shift and take control of your own mind, laugh, cry, and transform the space within so that you can answer the question when asked, how do you meditate? Let's dive in. This episode is sponsored by Arbonne 30 Days to Healthy Living. The 30 Days to Healthy Living is a program that offers you an approachable plan to get you on track with good habits that can support long-term wellness. It's a holistic approach focusing on a routine of whole foods coupled with vegan protein shakes and select nutritional supplements. It's taken me years to find something without the chemicals in it that actually works. You can find more on my website at tylergravely.com. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of How Do You Meditate? It is Tyler, and I am so grateful that you are here and that you showed up. Thank you so much. I invite you all back in. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It is so good to be here with you. I am so excited about today's episode because it is with Jennifer Legra. And Jennifer Legra, also known as Jen, is gotta be one of the funnest people on the freaking planet. Like literally, I'm not kidding you. Her business is in fun. It spells fun. Like everything about this girl screams welcoming, fun, sparkles, glitter, jazzy hands, like whatever it is that makes you feel excited and fun. That is her. And she does it so well. And I'm so glad she's here to share her story with us today. I wanted to, before we get started, let you in on a secret. So I'm starting a project where I am going to be helping women, passionate, driven women through heartbreak. And in a really fun and loving and compassionate way, we are going to gain clarity together, transform our lives, and get to moving forward out of any sort of loss. So whether you know somebody who's going through it, been through it, still stuck on it, perhaps there's really a divorce here instead of a breakup. It could be a loss of a friend too. Meditation tends to help what is not serving you fall away, right? So when you take on this path, that's what tends to happen. So that is what I'm working on, and I need your input. So it is not a scary thing to reach out to me. I'm very open and ready to hear from you. I am opening the doors for it. And this is like your inside scoop for it. So my email is hello@tylergravely.com, or you can message me on Instagram at Tyler_Gravely, and I will get you all the information. Of course, I'm going to be putting some out in a few weeks, but this is like my pre introduction to it. And I'm giving all of my listeners an inside scoop as the podcast turns a year old in April 1st. Can you believe that? I've been doing this an entire year. Like, how is that even possible? It seems to me like at times I have no idea how I ever got it done. And then other times I'm like, yay, this is cool. We are nearly at 5,000 downloads. And I have had a couple of sponsors reach out. Like, it is cool. It is really, really, really cool. And I'm just so excited to be doing this. And I'm so grateful. This is like my dream life. And I'm just so happy to be here and that you're here in full support. So I just want to honor that and show my gratitude. And please, please, please reach out. Let's set the world on fire and help heal people after heartbreak. I think it could really benefit so many people. All right. So now we get back to Jen. She is just so fun. She's lighthearted. And in this episode, there's a splash of real life depth that's going to leave you wanting to hear more from her. She has this uncanny ability to make you feel so welcome and to help you see how to really appreciate this present moment, how to celebrate it in the present moment. And in my humble opinion, she brings life to meditation in action and paints the picture for us here today and how we can do that. You can find more about Jen on Instagram at Drinking the Whole Bottle, and you can read more on her world-renowned blog, www.drinkingthewholebottle.com. She is actually very accessible, so if you needed to reach out to her and you feel that nervous feeling, do it anyways, because she's going to make you laugh, and she's so much fun to talk to. So get ready to have some fun in this episode. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Here's Jen. Hi, Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. I love you. I love your face. I love all the things. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Same. Oh my gosh, you guys. I can't wait to get into this. But first, Jen, tell us where you actually are right now and a little bit about you.
So currently we are living in Guadalajara, Mexico. We have been here for 4 years. And we've been living abroad in general for the last 10 years. We started 6 years ago, not 6 years ago. We started in 2011. We moved to the Dominican Republic for 6 years. And then we moved here in 2017. And so we've been here 4 years. And then currently I'm in my kitchen talking to you, and my son is asking to go to the bathroom because that is how things roll when you are working from home during a pandemic.
Originally, I know you're from New Jersey, right? What inspired you to take your life on the road, which I think is so fun?
Oh gosh. I mean, it actually directly had to do a lot with New Jersey at the time. So in 2010-ish or so, the powers that be, our governor of New Jersey, was making a whole lot of cuts to education. And my husband and I were both in education, and he was one of the most recent hires. And so through all of the cutting and everything that all of the towns had to do, he lost his job. I think when those cuts happened, that idea of being a tenured teacher and that safety net, I think he realized was like an illusion type of thing. And so that pushed him a little bit more forward to say, maybe we should look into going abroad or teaching internationally. So I needed nothing else. I mean, I think, the subtleties of it, we were both really tired of what education in, I don't want to say all of the states because we only taught in New Jersey, but we were really tired of what education in New Jersey was. It felt very rat racish. I was at the time working at a charter school, and I was going in at 6:30 in the morning, and our day was till 4:00, but I wasn't getting home till like 6 in the evening because, teachers especially are very giving creatures. So it's like, how much time could we spend giving and giving and giving and giving? Teaching seems to be the dream. Everybody thinks that. They're like, oh, you're done at 3. And that was never true for us. And, I think all of those questions and then the layoffs and the overall energy of education in New Jersey was very exhausting. And so we're like, screw it. Let's do this thing that we've talked about. And we'll see how it goes. And if it's not great, then we come back. Like there's nothing permanent about going.
I think it's so brave that you did all of that. And I imagine this hot, sassy Jen just like, okay, whatever, let's go. Let's do this.
I definitely, we have a joke that, I mean, most people refer to it as like the yin and the yang. And we joke that we're the glittering glue. Whereas I'm obviously the glitter.
Obviously.
Right. Where it's like, I like you need both, right? The glitter is shiny and it's dazzly and it's fun and it's all the things, but without the glue to keep it grounded, it would just flitter away into the air. Like it would take nothing, right? You just blow on glitter and it's gone if it didn't have the glue to keep it grounded. And then on the other side of it, him being the glue, he's very grounded and he's very together, but he needs something to razzle dazzle,
Yeah.
And so we, that's definitely been a lot of our relationship where I do the big sort of dreaming that he's afraid to do. And he's always like, why do we have to talk about this? Like, why can't we just stay in DR? Why can't we stay in Mexico? I'm like, because there's things, things to do. So it's we definitely play off each other's energies very well.
I love it. That's good that you noticed that. I would say that I'm probably not the only one that has started this way, but what started my spiritual journey in a crazy way is that by reading that book, The Alchemist. And then your whole blog is like named after that. Tell us about it, because I think it's so important to know this.
Yeah, well, so drinking the whole bottle comes from a quote by Paulo Coelho, who's the author of The Alchemist. But drinking the whole bottle comes from Brita. I don't know if you pronounce it Brita or Brita. But in the book, the whole quote is, I always totally mess it up. Tyler knows I'm terrible with quotes.
Okay.
But the overall idea of it is accept what life offers you. Try to drink from every cup. Some wine should be tasted. Some should be sipped, but with others, drink the whole bottle. And when I read that quote, definitely all the things were going off. I love Paulo Coelho. I love The Alchemist. I've read it a number of times. As a teacher, I taught it with my 7th grade students. I am just obsessed with everything he stands for. And that quote specifically, because it stood out, but it also stood out because of the way that, because of the quote, right? It's not just about drinking wine, although it could be read that way. It's about savoring everything, right? Like at the end of the day, to know that you like something and to know that you don't like something, you have to try it. So like, you have to sip something. And if that's it, like if you sip it and that's all you want to get from that particular bottle or flavor or person or situation, then it's okay, right? Sometimes you just have to get a little taste of something to know it's not for you. And then with other things, when you do find those things that you enjoy, like that's a drinking the whole bottle moment. Like you just have to take it all in, because like when you're lucky enough to find something that you want to take all in, like why even limit yourself to the sip anymore? So that's, the title, and in the quote, he says, drink the whole bottle. For me, when I was designing the blog, I wanted something that sounded more like it was an action that you're constantly taking, right? To drink the whole bottle sounds more static, whereas drinking the whole bottle is something that's a process that you're doing every day. So that was the tweak I made to that man's genius. Not that he needs any tweaking. But
I want to hear more about when you heard that quote and you said your whole body lit up and you just like knew, like that exact moment. And then you've been able to create these smaller moments through all the things that you do versus, your blog, your happy hours, your creative events, when you show up to our meetings, like it's always like that with you. Do you feel that like in your body? Like what does it feel like? I want to share that with people.
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. So I think at the base of drinking the whole bottle and what I've always wanted to create from that, and what I think and actually going back to my husband and I do a lot of things together. And I think so much of that is about relationship, and it's about community, and it's about like making people feel welcome. The big phrase right now is to like see people. And I think I do that. But more than seeing people, I have a place in my heart. And I think I've always been like this, where I want people to feel welcome, right? Like I was the kid in middle school and high school that when a new kid came in, I'd be like, you could sit at our lunch table and I'm going to take you to your classes. And then they would make their own friends and we would never like stay, really good friends. But I wanted to be a person to help them feel okay and feel welcome. And so I think that's probably a big commonality with how I show up to either the happy hours that husband and I have, or any creative, to the book club that I launched with another friend, to creative events that we do. Like before COVID, husband and I would do lip sync battle parties, and we would do these like trivia night, pub quiz type things. We would theme parties, all this stuff. And even to just regular meetings, I want people to come into a meeting and feel good there and feel like, oh, okay, I could breathe. This feels like a comfortable, safe place. And, and fun. I do like the fun. I do like the energy, but I think that energy comes off of, I like being with people. I like being in relationship, friendships, all of that. So I think that's probably where a lot of that comes from.
In order for you to know how to do those things, you've experienced them for yourself. You know what it feels like to be comfortable. You know what it feels like to feel welcome. You totally are so fun when you're like, no, she didn't. Like that did not happen. We don't go there. And you're probably really good at creating those moments for yourself, even if you don't exactly know it. I know you said you just started creating, like, you're like something happening and you're like, I got to create some stillness for myself. Like mama is needing some quiet time. Like what made you say that or think that, and how's it going?
The short answer is the pandemic. The longer answer is, and I'll keep it short, but when we moved to the Dominican Republic, a whole lot of ideas that we had, and I'll keep it specific right now to parenting and being a parent, were completely turned upside down, because what I knew in New Jersey was that when you got married and you had kids, like now you just had to be a different person and you had to live a different life because you were a mom now, and moms don't do that. I think that's become a little different now, but that was the sense that I got, from when I was growing up to then when I was going to have a kid. Like I was like, okay, I guess moms don't dance on tables, and moms don't moms don't have lip sync battle parties, and moms just don't, you have to be a more subdued version of yourself. And I never felt like I would be able to do that. But that's what right? And then when we moved to DR, there were all of these families, and it was this beautiful combination of like families that hung out with singles, and there was couples, and some had kids and some didn't. And they would all hang out together and everybody would have a good time. And we would go to this one area that we dubbed the Bluffs, but that it was really just where fishermen went to fish. But we just found this really pretty patch of grass that overlooked the ocean, and it's in the middle of, it's the Caribbean, with palm trees and amazingness. And it was the perfect place to watch the sunset. And all of these, like us included, all of us like gringos would go there, and we would tailgate and sort of have our happy hour at the Bluffs. And we would bring cornhole, and we would bring, essentially tailgating gear. And it would be groups of, you could go from 10 people to like 50 people, and we would all congregate here, and we would bring our children, and our children would play cornhole, and they would run around and, just have the time of their lives running around and being free. And sometimes people would play like a guitar, or we'd have music playing from one of the cars. Like it sounds idyllic, and it really was. And I would sit in those moments sometimes, and I would look around at everybody just like laughing, singing in community, right? Back to that word. And I would like sit in that moment. The moment was by no means quiet, but like within me, there was this quiet where I was like, oh my God, like this is life. Like this is it. It's a beautiful, I'm here surrounded with my friends, and my husband's over there talking to whoever, and my kids are running around like barefoot with crazy hair, and the wind blowing, and the sun is setting, and the ocean is slamming up against rocks, and like, holy crap. Like it would just be this big, beautiful moment, but that I was almost quietly having within myself. And that was a big learning moment for me of like, sometimes you just have to sit in a moment. And I think we do have moments like that often. I mean, that's a big, beautiful one. But I think we probably have at least one of those moments every day, but we don't sit in it and we don't take notice of it. And so it gets away from us. So it kind of, that idea of sitting in like a, not quiet by volume, but quiet like by your soul, got in, was something I always thought about from those moments at the Bluffs. And then just moving into this last year, I have a lot of things going on. I have a lot of emotions. I have a lot of feelings about things. And one thing that I realized through COVID is I've always known this, but COVID really brought it out. I am a big extrovert, but I didn't realize how introverted I was until COVID. And then it was like, oh, right. I'm perfectly happy being home and like not going out and not doing the things and not hanging out with friends I keep myself very busy when there's not a pandemic, and I definitely do a lot of going out and gathering and hanging out with people. And then when that was all taken away, I was totally fine, which was a whole new revelation. And that I think most people were shocked by. Like, they were like, I can't believe you're so fine through this. Like, you're the last person I thought was going to be fine. And so it was wonderful. Like I really have enjoyed a lot of the quiet downtime that we've gotten from pandemic, lockdown, COVID, whatever, social distancing, whatever terminology we want to use for it. But then there also got to be this point more in the beginning of the year. And I think that's because the kids started school back up again. And I take walks around our like gated community. I try to do it every morning. And sometimes I get to do it by myself, and sometimes the kids want to join. And when the kids join, it's not really a quiet walk. It's like, did you see that bird? What do you think that bird's name is? Do you think that bird has a family? What kind of shoes do you think that bird wears? I mean, you might be hearing them in the background of this podcast, right? It's not quiet. It's not quiet with kids. And so it was one of those walks where I was walking by myself and it was silent. And I think I knew that I was gearing up for what is the school year craziness. And being that I'm the parent with the flexible job, all of my attention in the morning goes to the kids and getting them settled. And so I thought to myself, it was almost like one of those like bink moments that just drops into your mind. And the divine download, if you will, that was like, you need some silence. Like, you've had quiet this year, but you haven't had silence. And I was like, oh shit, like looked around. I was like, oh shit, who said that? But it resonated. I thought to myself, yeah, that's right. I have had a lot of quiet, but have I really been in silence? Like, if I'm sitting quietly, am I scrolling Instagram? Am I responding on Facebook? Am I even reading a book, right? I don't think reading a book is being in silence because your mind is active. And so I thought to myself in that moment, okay, you did a really good job. Good job, Jen. You did a really good job this year of being quiet, but now can you be silent? And so that was sort of the next step of that process.
You just reminded me of something that took me a really long time to learn. And it was the ability to savor the in the smallest moments, like, oh my gosh, I'm having a waffle with like peanut butter and honey, like, just the smallest things. But it took me so long to understand the value in those moments of like just people gathering and having that essence of like community and welcoming and just like fun. And a lot of times as humans, I don't know, that could be a lesson that someone never learns, because it's like, it's one of those things. It's like humans internally, and you can look this up in books and science and whatever. It's like the happiness. When's the happiness going to come? Like happy. I need happiness. I'm not happy. You're not making me happy. I'm not happy. And in reality, it's not another person's job to make you happy. And so you have to be able, in a sense, to be like, oh my gosh, I'm just so grateful for these things right here, right now. And like you painted the whole picture so pretty. And I'm like, I was there with you on the beach. And I'm like, yes. And it's something that I think is important to remind ourselves of, is what do we find valuable, and how are we savoring these moments? Because the next thing you know, we're 50, we're 60, we're 70, we're 80, and it's all gone. And the idea of happiness is elusive.
Yeah. I mean, I think people like quiet down we've heard this before, right? If you sit and you enjoy your breakfast and like really sit and like be present with that moment, we hear things like that all the time that I think people just mute it. And they're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to be like present with my coffee. But if you actually do it, it becomes a different thing altogether. And I think, I think for me, having that moment be with a collective, a community, with people makes sense, right? Because that's where I get a lot of my power, for lack of a better word, from. So it makes sense that I would be sitting in that moment and able to fully enjoy it. Whereas for somebody else, that might not be where they have that sort of power moment, right? It might be with a cup of coffee. It might be if you're sitting in your garden and you hear the birds chirping. Like, there are such simple everyday ways all the time that we can do this. Because I tell people this because inevitably they're going to say to me, well, I mean, you were living on a tropical island with the sunset and the rocks and the people playing their guitar and acoustic, and that's amazing. But even then, I would say to people, yeah, but that's a picture of the moment that I'm in right now. But we would also hang out at in Dominican Republic, they have these spots that are called colmados. And it's essentially like a bodega, like a corner store. In New York City, you'd call it a bodega. And so we would go there, and these were not fancy, nice places. In fact, like a lot of the local higher teachers would be like, what are you guys doing hanging out in the colmado? Like, you would have these plastic chairs with plastic tables. It's very dusty, sort of grimy. Unfortunately, there's a lot of pollution there. And there would be cars driving by and people honking and guys on motorcycles. It wasn't anything, that you would imagine when you think like, I live on a tropical island. This was not the thought that you would have. But we would go there, and it would start with two people, and they had the big boy beers. They would sell like these big boy beers, and they were called jumbos. Oh my gosh. I love it so much. And you would go. And so like, let's say my husband and I would get there first, and we'd go in and we'd buy a jumbo, and they were super cold, and it would come out of the freezer that was like sub-zero temperature. And because it hit the warm island breeze, it would have this like veil of white ice. So it was so cold, like the coldest beer you've ever had in your life. And they give you these 2 plastic cups that they put on top of the bottle. And we would sit down at our 2 chairs, and we would pour each other some of the jumbo. And then 2 other friends would come, and then we would pour them a jumbo. And then 2 other friends would come and we would pour them. And then that jumbo would be done. And so another person would go and get like the next round of jumbos. And so on and on it went. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't fancy. We were drinking beer out of plastic cups, sitting on plastic chairs in this place that was kind of dirty and kind of loud. But I appreciated that moment just as much as I appreciated the beautiful sunset, ocean hitting the rocks. Because again, it was a time where I could sit in, look around at the situation, the people, all of the sort of senses of it, and appreciate the moment for what it was, which was always just this beautiful moment of gathering with friends and laughing and more music, right? And so it isn't just about you have to wait for that tropical island vacation because damn, and that's like what, once or twice a year that you really get to sit in your life and enjoy it and savor it. Like, no. And so it started in DR with that, but I very then quickly understood that I can sit in the moment anywhere and have that same experience. And so, if it's easy for you to do that with a cup of coffee outside in your garden where you're taking in that moment, great. If you're not even sure where to start with something like that, I would encourage you to the next time you are sitting at the table with your partner, your kids, your family, your friends, a show you're watching, like really sit into that moment and like ask yourself, like, what's happening here and what's the joy that you'll find it, right? Because even if it's you sitting on the couch watching Grace and Frankie under a blanket and having a glass of wine, like how freaking joyful is that? Or if it's you sitting around the table and your kids happen to be laughing at a joke that they made, like sit in that moment and listen to the laughter and look at the faces of the people who are with you, and you'll find it there.
I really hope that what people take away from this conversation is that so much of your life is meditation in action. Literally, meditation in action. Like this is what we strive for, to create a practice that we find these little moments in our life that we appreciate and that we can savor. And I'm not kidding you when I tell you that there's so many people out there, and including myself, this doesn't happen, and you can sit for a lifetime going, God dang it, I wish I could just be still. And like, you could just, and like, I wish you could see my eyes right now, like rolling in the back of my head. But like literally, and there's so much judgment that comes with that. When there's this quote that says something like, we get simple to understand complicated. And it's the idea that everything is really simple. And so you have to get simple to understand complicated, because if you don't, then you're just all up in the head and in the air and whatnot. And so many people are searching. And like you said so beautifully, so what if I'm on a beach? So what? What does Kathy say? Who says so? Who says so? Okay, who says so? Because you can literally be. And I grew up in a very small town, and I was always like, is this it? And like going back to your conversation in the beginning, I was like, I got married very early on, and I was like, well, I guess I wear granny panties now. Like, that's what moms do, right? Like that's what
this is what we do now.
This is what we do. And I felt like I was giving up so much of my life. It took me a long time to understand that that's not the case. So I just love your vulnerability and sharing that. And I know that so many people are going to hear that and go like, oh my God, she's so right. She's so right. How do I understand the simple moments with my family at home? And that's what's valuable.
Well, and it's funny too, because that's sort of, and I don't even think that we've chatted much about this yet. Like that's sort of the next iteration of what I'm working on, is this idea of bringing in these small, simple ways weekly, right? Almost like these fun assignments, as I'm calling them, which are essentially like fun weekly challenges, not even fun, but just like challenges to I mean, they could be fun, but to kind of bring you back to this fun, silly, celebratory, thoughtful place, right? Because you get so caught up in the every day, and then you forget that it could be so simple, right? It's as simple as like, you can buy yourself some flowers and that's the thing you do for yourself this week. Or you could dress up in 70s gear and go to the supermarket and make a total fool of yourself. And that sounds so small and so trivial. And like, what's that really going to do for my attitude? But it's like, so much, because what you've now done is to like turn and highlight and spotlight the fun silliness in your life, and the moment to like, I guarantee you, if you're dressed up with like a 70s fro and bell-bottom pants and you're going like shopping at the supermarket, that you're going to be very present in every single moment that you're walking around that grocery store, because, because you have to be. And I think sometimes we need to give ourselves, we do a lot of celebrations here in our house, because I do think it's important to drop into that and to remind ourselves that 1 week vacation isn't going to cut it. Like, and why? And also just why am I going to wait 51 weeks for the one? Like, why not do something adventurous every week, or something fun, or something silly, or something thoughtful, or get to know yourself better, do a quiz. Like, there's so many ways that you can remember who you are and the moments that you're in and the moments that you're having. If you just take a moment, really,
Yeah.
if you just, and if you plan for it in the same way that you plan to go to the doctor or take a shower, or brush your teeth, like being in that celebration of your day and your life, like that should happen on routine in my humble opinion.
Oh my gosh. 100%. Well,
because it changes. No,
Sorry,
I was just going to say it changes everything. It starts to change the way you view doing anything, right? It starts to, why do I have to just do the dishes? Why can't I do the dishes with like, the Proclaimers 500 miles on and just like dance it out? Like, it doesn't have to be so freaking routine. And it just takes a simple switch, right?
Yeah. And that's your gift. That is such a gift to be able to do that for people, because, meditation is all about changing your perception. It opens up a perception. So a lot of people, this isn't their gift, and they struggle with mindset issues, self-worth issues, value issues, you name it. We've all have it. And so when you have that challenge, I'm like, I'm signing up. I want to go. I mean, it's part of it is to be brave. It takes bravery to look within. And so to be able to dress up in 70s garb and go to the grocery store, that's going to take some bravery.
A whole lot of it.
You're practicing meditation on the outside, but it's like working for the inside. I don't know. I see it. I love it. I see you, girl.
Yeah. I see you, girl. No. And part of it too, though, is also then the other half of it, which goes back to the welcoming, the community side of it, is like, it's also inviting yourself to do those things, right? Because you said earlier, actually, something that, about sort of me, about welcome, when I was talking about welcoming. And one of the things that I thought was, there's definitely been times where I haven't been welcomed to things, plenty of times, right? And those pain points are always the ones that you're like, well, now I'm going to create a community where everybody's freaking welcome. Because I do think so much of the party, the life, is about inviting yourself to it, inviting yourself not just to show up, but to play at the level, the volume that you want to play. And so often we don't do that because, I don't know, we're afraid that we're going to show up and people are going to ask why we're there, or like, who told you to come? Or I think of the typical high school bullshit of like, where I think what we revert back to when we think of parties, it's like, well, what if I invite people and they don't come? Well, it doesn't matter because you've already invited yourself and you've already allowed yourself to play at whatever freaking volume you want to. And so like nobody gets to turn down that volume because it's your volume. And so that's so much a part of it too, is this idea of inviting ourselves to our own party, which is really just a metaphor for life.
I want to talk to you for like 7 more hours because it's so fun. And I like everything you're saying. I'm like, oh my God, I want to say this and I want to do this. And I want to talk more about this. Tell us where we can find you so that we can follow you, read about you, play along, all the things.
So, Drinking the Whole Bottle is the name on all the things. So if you go to drinkingthewholebottle.com, that's my website. That's where you'll find all of the things going on, and also the blog. So there's tons of content there. And then Instagram is probably the best place after that to find me and chat, communicate, engage with me. And again, on Instagram, it's also drinkingthewholebottle.com. I am not a fancy that has people and assistants that respond. So anybody that comes to talk to me on Instagram or on Facebook will be talking to me. But yeah, you could find me at drinkingthewholebottle.com or on Instagram or on Facebook. It's also Drinking the Whole Bottle.
I love it. Well, one last question. What are you most looking forward to this year for your business?
I'm really excited right now about this challenge. Still working through some of the ideas of how that's going to look. But in thinking through this challenge and how I want to bring that to people, the other part that's sort of come up is this collaboration with my husband, who we were doing on Instagram, what we called wine conversations. And that was every Thursday evening. And so in talking about this next challenge, like these fun, silly adventure challenges, we talked also about really starting a podcast together. And then through just iterating all of that and talking about like, what would this be? And he was like, would it be about family? And I was like, God, no, nobody comes to me for mom advice. But I said, but they do come to us. Like they do come to me and say, I love how much fun you guys have. I love the fun things that you do together. And so it came back to those big ideas, right? Of relationships, community, gathering well, creating meaning. And so the combination of these little daily adventures and now the podcast layering in with it is super exciting. And I feel like I feel very aligned with all of it, which feels really good.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it was so nice being here. I love talking to your face.
Here are the takeaways with Jen. Number 1, what is an action that you can take each day as a process? Number 2, Jen values relationship and community, to really see people, but more than that, she wants people to feel welcome. What do you find your value in? Number 3, Jen appreciates the big, beautiful, quiet moments, and sometimes you just have to sit in that moment. What's a moment right now that you can take action on and really enjoy as is? Number 4, as a mom, sometimes you can do a walking meditation with kids and enjoy that moment and the stories that go with that. Number 5, Jen's mastered the art and the ability to savor the smallest moments. Think of 3 moments right now that you could really stop to savor. Number 6, how can you really sit in that moment? And what does it look like on the court? By that, I mean, what is the action that really takes to be with that? Number 7, meditation in action. Buy yourself flowers. Do something you've never done before. Dressing up funny or sexy or being something that you're not used to. Get yourself out of the normal way of being. Number 8, all it takes is a switch. No one gets to turn down your volume. And number 9, invite yourself to your own party. Just wanted to thank you again for showing up and for spending your time here today with us. You are always welcome to reach out to me at hello@tylergravely.com. And the best way to help this show, if you feel called to do so, is to go into the Apple website on the podcast on your phone, write a review, share it with somebody you love, and let us know that this episode is impacting you. That's the best way to make episodes and shows like this survive. So thank you so much, and I will see you next week. Talk to you soon. Bye.